Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Okay.
This time, we're going deep on something that you guys have been asking for, and that's Zen practices. But I
Yeah.
have a feeling that you guys aren't looking for, a philosophy lecture.
Right.
You want the how to, you want to know how to actually apply it in your life, right? In the middle of everything going on.
Yeah.
So we've got a whole stack of really cool tips and techniques from a bunch of different sources about how to work Zen into your everyday life.
I'm excited.
We're going to be talking about mindfulness and simplicity and finding stillness, self-compassion, all that good stuff.
It works.
So I'm curious, what is the most impactful thing that stood out to you as you were going through all this material?
Honestly, there's so many good things in
I
here.
know, right?
But the thing that really kind of struck me was the mindfulness and all the activities you do, like everyday activities.
Yeah,
We often think of meditation as like,
the formal sitting.
yeah, as like a formal practice.
Yeah.
But Zen encourages us to bring that same awareness to everything that we
It's
do.
everything.
Eating, walking, even doing the dishes.
So I have to admit, when I first heard about mindful eating, I was kind of like, I don't know about that.
Right.
But I tried it, and I really slowed down and paid attention to like the taste and the texture of the food.
Yeah,
And honestly, it changed everything.
totally.
I mean, not only was it more enjoyable, but I didn't have indigestion anymore.
Wow.
So do you think the key is just slowing down?
Slowing down is a huge part of it, but I think it's even more than that.
Yeah.
It's really about bringing in like your full attention to whatever you're doing.
Okay.
So when you're walking, you're feeling your feet on the ground. When you're working, you're like immersing yourself in the task. And Zen teaches us that even the most mundane activities can become these like opportunities for deeper presence
Right.
and even enlightenment, dare I say.
I love that.
It's about finding that stillness
Yes.
within the action.
It's like training your mind to be where your body is instead of like 10 steps ahead worrying about what's next.
Totally.
So how does this tie into this idea of simplicity that we see come up a lot in these sources?
Well, simplicity is about cutting through all of the noise,
Yeah.
both external and internal.
Yeah.
And it's decluttering your space, decluttering your schedule, your commitments.
Right.
It all contributes to having a quieter mind.
There was this one tip that I read that was about identifying and eliminating those unnecessary repetitive tasks
Yes.
that we do every day. The things that we do just out of habit, but
Yeah.
that don't really add any value.
Yes.
It's like a mental spring cleaning.
Exactly. And it's not about deprivation or anything. It's
Yeah.
about being intentional with how you spend your time and energy.
Yeah.
So for you, maybe that means finally getting around to like meal prepping on Sundays.
Yeah.
So you have your healthy lunches ready to go for the week.
Total.
It's just about making space for what truly matters.
I love that now a lot of people talk about struggling to find stillness, especially in our modern world.
Right.
We're constantly connected. And these sources talk about seeking out these small pockets of silence.
Yeah.
So where do you find yours? Is it a specific place, a particular time of day?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be some grand gesture.
Right.
Like for me, a lot of times I find them in transitions. Focus like waiting for the coffee to brew or,
Yeah.
walking to a meeting instead of immediately pulling out my phone.
Right.
I try to like take a couple deep breaths, just tune into my senses.
Yeah.
And that can be enough to just kind of reset and recenter.
So you're not necessarily carving out these big chunks of time.
Right.
You're using these little moments that are already built in.
Yeah.
I love that.
To your day.
So we've talked about, finding that stillness, but there's also this big emphasis on nurturing compassion
Yes.
for ourselves and others.
Absolutely.
And this idea of self-compassion is really fascinating to me.
It is.
Why is that so important, and how is that different from just being selfish?
Self-compassion, I think, is often misunderstood.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we're all human.
Right.
We're all going to make mistakes, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not about letting yourself off the hook.
Uh-huh.
It's about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend.
Yeah.
It's essential for mental well-being.
These sources talk about engaging in positive self-talk. Do you have any personal strategies or phrases that you use when you're feeling kind of down on yourself?
I try to remember that my thoughts aren't facts.
Okay.
So when that inner critic starts to get really loud, I just remind myself to be gentle
Yeah.
and to focus on the things that I can control, like my actions and my responses.
It's like taking that compassion that we so easily give to others and
Yes.
turning it inward.
Exactly.
And then, of course, that same kindness should then ripple outwards to the people around us.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a grand gesture or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, a genuine compliment, holding the door open for someone even just listening with your full attention.
Yeah.
These small acts can have a ripple effect,
Yeah.
and they create a more positive and compassionate world.
So much of Zen is about recognizing that we're all interconnected.
Right, exactly. We're not isolated individuals. We're part of like a web of relationships.
Now, here's a concept that might feel a little counterintuitive to some people.
Okay.
This idea of letting go of attachment to outcomes.
Right.
So is that just like giving up?
No,
Right.
not at all.
Holiday.
Non-attachment is about recognizing that we can't control everything. Life is full of uncertainty.
Right.
And it's about shifting our focus from the end goal
Okay.
to the process itself.
Okay.
So instead of being fixated on, like, I need to achieve X,
Yeah.
it's more about saying, I intend to approach this situation with mindfulness and compassion.
So you're saying it's about setting intentions rather than these rigid goals.
Exactly.
And accepting that things might not go according to plan, but that doesn't mean that we've failed.
It's about embracing the journey with all of its twists and turns
Yeah.
and finding peace in the midst of all the uncertainty.
That makes a lot of sense because it's really about releasing that need to control everything,
Yeah.
which can be so liberating.
It allows us to be more present, more adaptable, and ultimately more resilient.
Okay, this is all making me want to ditch my to-do list and go wander in the woods.
I love that.
Which actually is perfect timing because one of the themes that came up in our sources was this idea of infusing joy into everyday moments.
Yes.
So it's about cultivating an attitude of appreciation for even the smallest things.
Yes.
So how does that resonate with you?
It really resonates with me because it's about shifting our perspective from what we lack to what we already have. Noticing the beauty in the ordinary, like the warmth of the sun on your skin,
Yeah.
or the taste of your morning coffee.
Uh-huh.
These moments of joy are all around us if we just take the time to notice them.
It's like training your brain to look for those little sparks of happiness
Absolutely.
instead of focusing on what's missing.
Yes. And, it doesn't have to be complicated either.
Yeah.
Something as simple as gratitude journaling. Like taking a few minutes each day to write down the things that you're grateful for can be so powerful.
It's amazing, right?
It is.
In shifting your whole mindset.
Totally.
Speaking of powerful, let's talk about building resilience.
Yes.
So life, it throws us curveballs inevitably.
It does.
So how does Zen help us navigate those challenges?
I think it starts with cultivating what they call a growth mindset.
Okay.
So viewing challenges as opportunities for learning rather than as failures.
Interesting.
It's about embracing the idea that we can always grow and evolve,
Yeah.
even through adversity, and trusting that process.
So how do we actually put this into practice
Yeah,
when we're in the middle of something stressful?
right.
Do you have any, go-to techniques?
Yeah, mindful breathing is a great tool
Hey.
for grounding yourself during difficult times.
Yeah.
Just taking a few deep conscious breaths
Yeah.
can help to calm your nervous system, reduce stress, and bring you back to the present moment.
Yeah. I think we could all use a little bit more of that.
I agree.
Okay, so let's switch gears for a second and talk
Okay.
about something that I'm really fascinated by, and that's creating a Zen-inspired environment.
Oh, yes.
So what are your thoughts on how we can transform our spaces to feel more peaceful and more calm?
I think incorporating natural elements is a great place to start.
Like what?
So plants, stones, even a small water feature
Oh,
can
yeah.
bring a sense of tranquility to a room.
I am a huge believer in the power of plants. I may or may not have a jungle growing in my living room.
I love it. A little bit of nature indoors can make
Yeah.
a huge difference.
Okay, so don't underestimate the simple things, right?
Exactly.
Okay, I am curious about this next one, movement as meditation.
Yeah.
Zen seems to be often associated with stillness, but these sources suggest that movement can also be a form of meditation.
Absolutely.
Hello.
Well, practices like yoga and Tai Chi
Yeah.
are all about moving with intention, connecting with your breath, and cultivating this sense of presence in your body.
Yeah.
And they're incredibly beneficial for both your physical and mental well-being.
I always thought Tai Chi looked so cool, those slow-flowing movements.
I know.
It's like a moving meditation.
Exactly. It's a beautiful practice for cultivating balance, coordination, and inner peace.
Maybe I'll trade my treadmill for some Tai Chi classes.
Do it.
Okay, one final theme that stood out to me was this idea of seeking guidance from nature.
Yes.
And Zen philosophy places a lot of emphasis on our connection to the natural world.
Yes.
So why is that so important?
Well, nature is this powerful teacher.
Yeah,
It reminds us of the cycles of life, the importance of balance and harmony,
right.
and the beauty of impermanence.
Yeah.
And spending time in nature, even just for a few minutes,
Yeah.
can be incredibly grounding and restorative.
I totally agree. I recently started taking walks in a park near my office during my lunch break.
I love that.
And it's amazing how much it recharges me
Yeah.
just to be surrounded by trees, to listen to the birds. It's like a mini vacation for my mind.
It's amazing how much even a small dose of nature
Totally.
can shift our perspective
Yeah.
and improve our well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Even just stepping outside and taking a couple of deep breaths of fresh air,
Yeah.
you know.
Just that can really make a difference.
Yeah, and I think we forget how simple yet how profound that connection to nature can be.
Yeah, and it's interesting, we've been talking about all these Zen practices,
Right.
the mindfulness, the simplicity, the compassion, connecting with nature. It's not about escaping from the world, is it? It seems like it's about engaging with it more fully, more
Yeah.
presently, more authentically.
I think that's a great way to put it. Zen isn't about seeking some distant state of enlightenment.
Yeah.
It's about enriching the life that we're living right now.
Right here, right now.
Yes, and it's about finding those moments of peace and presence in the midst of all the everyday chaos and using the tools to navigate challenges with more grace and resilience.
And really being intentional both in our actions
Yes.
and how we respond to the world around us.
Absolutely.
And that's something that all of us can do,
Exactly.
regardless of our background or beliefs.
Exactly. It's a journey, not a destination.
I love that.
You know, start small, experiment with different practices, see what resonates with you. Be patient with yourself. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to Zen.
Right.
It's about finding what works for you and integrating it into your life in a way that feels authentic and sustainable.
Yeah, it's like creating a personalized toolkit for a more fulfilling life.
Yep.
So I'm curious, what is something that you're still curious about when it comes to Zen practices?
Oh, that's a good question. One thing that keeps coming up for me is this idea of beginner's mind.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about that.
It's about approaching things with a sense of openness and curiosity as if you were seeing them for the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated by, how we can cultivate that sense of wonder and apply it to our daily lives.
It's like hitting the reset button
Yes.
on our perceptions
I
instead of
agree.
getting bogged down by our preconceived notions and judgment.
Exactly.
We're approaching each moment with fresh eyes.
Yeah, and it reminds me of something we talked about earlier about seeking guidance from nature.
Yeah.
Nature embodies that beginner's mind perfectly.
It does.
Every day is a new beginning, a fresh start. And there's so much that we can learn from observing the natural world and incorporating those lessons into our own lives.
I'm so glad you brought that up because there's this one aspect of connecting with nature that we haven't really explored yet, and that's forest bathing.
Oh, yes.
It's all the rage these days.
I know forest bathing, or Shinrin-yoku,
Yeah.
is this practice that originated in Japan, and it's all about immersing yourself in the sights, the sounds, the smells of the forest.
Yeah.
And studies have shown that it can have these incredible benefits for both mental and physical health.
So I've heard about it. It's supposed to lower your stress levels, boost your immune system, even improve your sleep. Is it really as simple as just hanging out in the woods?
Essentially,
Yeah.
yes. But the key is to engage all your senses.
Oh,
So
okay.
you walk slowly, breathe deeply. Notice the colors and the textures of the leaves. Listen to the birds singing. Feel the breeze on your skin.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being fully present in that moment and absorbing the healing energy of the forest.
It sounds so grounding and restorative, like hitting the pause button on all the chaos of daily life and just allowing yourself to be.
It really is. And, you don't necessarily need a vast forest to experience the benefits.
Okay.
Any natural environment can be beneficial, like a park, a garden, even just a few trees in your neighborhood.
So it's accessible to everyone,
Yeah.
which is great. And it's a good reminder that sometimes the simplest things are the most profound. Speaking of profound, I want to circle back to that idea of cultivating a beginner's mind.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like such a valuable tool for navigating our increasingly complex world.
It is, and it ties into so much of what we've been talking about today, like mindfulness, non-attachment, finding joy in the present moment.
Right.
It's about approaching life with that sense of curiosity and openness, rather than getting stuck in our habitual patterns of thinking and behaving.
Like we're constantly learning and growing,
Mm.
even from the most mundane experiences.
Exactly.
So what are some practical ways that we can cultivate this beginner's mind in our daily lives?
Well, one simple practice is to really pay attention to the details.
Okay.
So instead of going through your day on autopilot, really see the things around you as if you were seeing them for the first time.
Like really see them.
Yeah, notice the way the light filters through the leaves, the intricate patterns in the bark of a tree, the subtle variations in the color of the sky.
It's like a mindfulness scavenger hunt.
Exactly. It's about bringing that sense of curiosity and wonder to the everyday. Another practice is to ask questions.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to admit that you don't know something. Embrace the mystery.
Yeah, I think so often we feel pressured to have all the answers to project this image of confidence and certainty.
Mhm.
But there's so much beauty in not knowing and being open to learning from others.
Absolutely. And it's in those moments not knowing
Yeah.
that we're most open to new possibilities and new perspectives.
Okay, so we're paying attention to the details, we're asking questions, we're embracing the mystery. What else?
Try new things.
Woo! I like that.
Step outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
It could be something small like taking a different route to work or trying a new recipe, or something bigger like learning a new skill or traveling to a new place.
Yeah.
The point is to kind of shake things up, to break out of those habitual patterns and see the world with fresh eyes.
I'm all about trying new things. It keeps life interesting and it helps us grow in unexpected
It
ways.
does, and it helps us cultivate that beginner's mind, that sense of openness and wonder that can be so enriching.
So it's not just about learning new things, it's about approaching everything
Yeah,
with that sense of curiosity and that willingness to learn.
exactly. And that applies to our relationships, our work, our hobbies, every aspect of our lives.
I'm feeling inspired to cultivate my own beginner's mind.
Me too.
It's an ongoing journey.
It is,
No.
but it's a journey worth taking.
It is. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from mindfulness and simplicity to forest bathing and beginner's mind.
Yeah.
It's been an incredible deep dive into the practical applications of Zen principles in our daily lives.
Yeah.
So what are some key takeaways that you would want our listeners to remember?
I think, one of the biggest takeaways is that Zen isn't about withdrawing from the world or striving for some like unattainable state of perfection.
Yeah.
It's about engaging with life more fully and, finding those moments of peace and presence amidst all the everyday chaos.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating mindfulness, compassion, simplicity, and a deep connection with ourselves and with the natural world.
So it's not about becoming a monk and living on a mountaintop.
Right.
It's about bringing these principles into our modern lives.
Yeah.
Even if that life feels a little crazy sometime.
Exactly. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Start small.
Mm.
Be patient with yourself and be open to the transformative power of these practices.
We talked about finding stillness amidst the noise,
Right.
but what about creating our own stillness?
Oh,
Do you think that's part of Zen practice too?
I think that's a really insightful question, and I think it's an essential part of integrating Zen into a modern lifestyle.
Okay.
It's about becoming more intentional, about creating space for reflection and rejuvenation in our lives.
So instead of just like grabbing moments of quiet whenever we can, we're actually building it into our days?
Exactly. It could be something as simple as like turning off notifications for a couple hours each day,
Yeah.
taking a tech-free weekend, or even scheduling like a regular do-nothing day.
Wow.
It's about reclaiming our time and attention from the constant demands of the digital world.
Yes.
Just giving ourselves permission to disconnect and simply be.
It sounds almost radical.
It kind of is.
In today's world, to
Yeah.
actually choose to disconnect, I think it's also important to acknowledge that incorporating these Zen principles into your life, it's not like a quick fix or a magic bullet.
Right.
It's an ongoing process, and there are going to be times when it feels challenging or even frustrating.
Absolutely. And that's where that self-compassion comes in. Remember to be kind to yourself, celebrate your progress, and don't get discouraged by setbacks.
Yeah.
It's all part of the process.
So embracing the imperfection, even in our pursuit of a more mindful and peaceful life,
Yes,
that feels very Zen.
it is.
Right.
And, you don't have to do it all at once.
Right.
Start with one small change, something that resonates with you,
Right.
and build from there. Even just a few minutes of mindful breathing each day can make a difference.
Small steps, big impact. I love that.
Yes.
Well, this has been an amazing exploration of Zen practices for everyday life. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all of you listening, we hope you found some really valuable takeaways that you can start putting into practice right away. Remember, Zen is about finding those moments of peace and presence no matter where you are or what you're doing.
Yes.
It's about cultivating a more mindful, compassionate, and joyful way of being in the world.
I love that.
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep exploring